We knew that the Florida Gators Pro Day was going to be a show, and man, it didn't disappoint. We'll talk about it here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We're available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Happy Friday. I'm Brandon Olson. Find me on Twitter, WNS_Brandon. Written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, and NFL 33. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. Shooting from a different angle because it is very late. I just got home after, 2 days of flights and driving long times, and it was great. But I'm just going to say this. The Florida Gators Pro Day was one of the coolest things I've ever been able to do. So thank you all for listening and tuning in and following and doing whatever you do that helps support this, because that was one of the coolest opportunities that I've ever gotten to go through. I got to meet Billy Napier, got to meet Sean Spencer, got to meet a bunch of people that I have no business meeting. So thank you all so much. And pretty sure today is 2 years to the date since I started this show. So I'm in heaven right now. But today's episode, we're going to be talking about some of the interviews from the Pro Day, starting with Billy Napier. Now, the one that we're starting with is Billy Napier was asked about the talent at the Pro Day. And the thing to me that popped here was kind of his first sentence, his first bit, where he says, I wish a couple of them would have stayed another year. And I think most of us acknowledge he is at the very least talking about Anthony Richardson, because why wouldn't you want that? Like, why wouldn't you want the guy who's potentially about to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft on your team in 2023, right? Him, Gervon Dexter is, I think, another one I know that I am thought of as not out on Gervon Dexter, but I know that I'm kind of thought of as someone that's down on him, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm just not as bought in as others, which you could say is the same thing, but it's not that I'm down on him. He just does some things that frustrate me quite a bit. So there's that. But I will also say that it seems like it was just something that it was just nice to hear from Billy Napier to just go, oh, we wish they would have stayed a couple years or another year, but they didn't. Wish him the best, all that stuff. But hear it from Billy Napier himself right here.
Yeah, no doubt. Good group, certainly wish a couple of us stayed in school another year, but it's always, it's great to see young people work extremely hard and have opportunities, and got a lot of important people in the building today, I think, that are a product of their hard work. Right? They've done things the right way on the field, off the field, and certainly hopeful that they can create some momentum here as we approach the draft.
After that, Billy Napier was asked about Rashad Torrence, and the question was basically, sorry for that angle, but it was literally me holding my phone right there in front of him, so that's how it went. But the question was basically, at what point did you know that Rashad Torrence had the potential to be an NFL player? And I just loved the answer from Billy. Like, I love the honesty about him straight up laughing and going, well, we probably shouldn't have had him, because he lists his measurables and everything. He's like, well, it probably shouldn't have been with Louisiana, but he was. And he talked about the physical traits that Osiris Torrance has. And from the outside looking in, we'll say, there's a reason that Osiris Torrance has met with the LA Rams on Tuesday, the Atlanta Falcons on Tuesday, the Tennessee Titans on Tuesday, the New Orleans Saints on Tuesday. Like, there is a very good reason that O'Cyrus Torrence got the opportunity to meet with all those NFL teams on Tuesday alone. I saw him at dinner at Paisanos, right by campus. I saw him at dinner at Paisanos with Tennessee Titans assistant offensive line coach Mike Sullivan, who Tennessee Titans assistant offensive line coach Mike Sullivan was also the guy that was running the offensive line drills at this Florida Pro Day. I don't know if that was something where maybe Mike Sullivan was like, "Hey, I want to see this O'Cyrus Torrence kid up close and personal. Let's do it." Or if that was the staff asked him to do that, or if they were kind of just like, "Anybody here want to do the drill?" And he just raised his hand. But it makes sense that Mike Sullivan, who again, Tennessee Titans assistant offensive line coach, paid extra attention to O'Cyrus during the pro day itself. Like this is a guy who's going to be an early NFL pick, and he's probably going to make a lot of money. And now you get to hear Billy Napier, the head coach of the Florida Gators, who also, if you forgot, was the one that recruited and coached O'Cyrus Torrence at Louisiana before coming to Florida here.
Yeah, I mean, you knew pretty early this guy. We probably shouldn't have this guy. So, 6'5", 335 pounds. And the starter got hurt in the first game his freshman year. He goes in the game, and the rest is history, right? So showed to be a really instinctive, smart football player. Just really come easy to him. Really bright. So yeah, thank goodness for early sign period.
Opening day has come and gone. It was yesterday, but it's still a perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. And look, I told you all on, I think it was the yesterday's show, where I told you, I said, look, what I'm betting is Mets -1.5. So Mets to win by 2 runs or more. And I'm betting that at plus 146. So it's plus money if it hits. Guess what? The Mets won, score 5-3. So the bet hit. So I'm just saying, you're welcome. Probably won't hit again, but you're welcome. Don't miss the chance for your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. And for this second segment, we're not going to be joined by, but we are going to have a couple of clips from interviews of Anthony Richardson after the pro day, which, by the way, oh my goodness, some of these throws. I've got some loser in my Twitter mentions like right now, talking trash about some of the Anthony Richardson throws, like the last one that went 74 yards. And that loser is just like, you don't know anything about timing. That's a bad throw, blah, blah, blah. That guy trains Charlie Brewer, who couldn't make it at Baylor, who couldn't make it at Utah, and couldn't make it at Liberty. So do you think I give a damn about that guy's opinion? Because clearly he doesn't know what good quarterback play looks like. But I digress. But Anthony Richardson was asked at one point about his tools not matching his potential. And he was asked about that and how he responds when NFL teams ask about that. But it's also important to note that, like, outside of Florida Gators, there wasn't that much hype surrounding Anthony Richardson. Like, there was hype. Don't get me wrong. There was hype of like, oh, this guy, like, keep an eye on him. And then the Utah game happened and he blew up. But this wasn't a thing where NFL executives were like, oh, that backup, like all the way back in 2020, they weren't like, oh, that backup for the Florida Gators, it's going to be good. 2021, when he was occasionally rotating, and they're like, oh, damn, he hurdled the dude. Cool. But we haven't seen him really play quarterback yet. NFL executives, scouts, like they don't have that perception of Anthony Richardson having that insane ceiling for so long. We do, as Florida Gators centric people, whether you're media, other players, fans, whatever. We do. they don't pay attention to most of that as backups. Like there's so many. I spoke to an NFL head coach at the Senior Bowl. So this was after his team had been eliminated from the playoffs or didn't make play. Like his season was over. So after his season was over, I spoke to an NFL head coach at the Senior Bowl. And I was like, hey, what are your thoughts on Anthony Richardson? Because you're a team that might need a quarterback. And you know what he told me? This was February. He said, I haven't watched a second of college film yet. Okay. So this is February, 2 months before the NFL draft. And this guy hadn't watched a second of NFL film. Do you think they had these insane expectations for Anthony Richardson? Because they didn't. So it's as simple as that. It's like, it's not a matter of his tools or his play not matching his potential. That only happened really in the state of Florida. And if you hate the University of Florida, like if you're a Georgia fan, like it made sense. But for the most part, that wasn't anything that happened. But hey, hear it from AR himself.
I haven't really gotten that question. A lot of people, they have their own take about it. But things happen for a reason. That's just the way I see it. I can't control everything. I do feel like I'm a great player. I do feel like I'll end up in a great situation. But I haven't really been asked that question. But I'm willing to work. I'm willing to get better, and any team that gives me, I'm gonna work for it.
In this last clip, I just liked how Anthony Richardson answered it because he was asked about, being injured every year. And yeah, he starts off by saying, first year I wasn't hurt. I was just backing up Kyle Trask and stuff like that. And I wanted to, I guess, highlight this answer because to me, it makes a lot of sense where there are Florida Gators fans who Anthony Richardson was keeping himself healthy at certain points in the season, maybe wasn't running as much as we wanted him to. And I know the phrase sandbagging is all over Twitter for it. Being selfish, putting himself first. Guy was staying healthy. Okay. And also don't forget a good portion of the season, he was told, hey, you need to stay healthy because we don't have a backup that we're comfortable with. And that's not like some hush hush thing I'm saying. That's like Billy Napier was in press conferences saying that. Like he was like, yeah, no, Anthony needs to stay healthy. We don't have a comfortable backup situation. So this isn't this insane theory, but I did think that it was important to hear from Anthony Richardson about just him dealing with injuries, what led to him changing his mindset, and what led to him continuing to keep that mindset change as he's getting ready for the NFL. But again, hear it from AR himself.
First year I wasn't injured. We just had Kyle Trask. That's a great QB. So trying to fight and get that starting job from him, definitely a challenge. That's a great QB. The second year I did deal with injuries. But everything happens for a reason. I'm glad, it happened to me. It showed how much I needed to take care of my body. I didn't know that the years prior. So going through that, I'm glad it happened. It helped me, make that decision to put more work and effort into my body. And then this previous year, just being on the field a lot more and getting a lot more experience, it was definitely a blessing. So I'm thankful for Coach Napier for trusting in me and thankful for the team for trusting in me.
We're a day away from April, so it's getting late in the year. If you're trying to get fit, trying to eat healthier, trying to get right, make sure to include Built Bar in your plan. Like it's a fantastic tool to use. It really is. Just make sure you are staying healthy, eating a delicious snack, because I've said it a million times. I do have a hardcore sweet tooth. Like, it's very bad. But luckily for me, Built Bar is coated in 100% chocolate already. Most bars have 130 calories and just 4 net carbs, along with 17 grams of protein, and they are finally in stores. So you can go to Built or BuiltBar.com to get yourself that Built Bar, or you can go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get yourself a Built Bar. To wrap up today's show, we are joined, not really, but joined by Gervon Dexter, Florida Gators defensive tackle. And there's a couple of things that I liked when he spoke about, when he spoke with the media, just because they were interesting things to hear. It wasn't this revolutionary thing, but, he was asked about which position he thinks he's best at or what he thinks his best fit is at the next level. And he mentioned, I like the ability to play the 3-tech or the 2-eye, and I'll explain what those are in a second. But it's important to note that both of those are thought of as like gap shooting type of defensive tackles, which is exactly what he should be doing. He's an athletic freak. He should be a gap shooting son of a gun. And the way that you do that is you put him at the 3-tech, which the 3-tech is, again, thought of as the pass rushing defensive tackle. If you're in a 3-4, it's thought of as a D end usually, which is why Gervon Dexter was listed as a defensive end this year, even though he was still playing defensive tackle. The 3-tech is very much a defensive tackle, which 3-tech, let's say I'm the guard, which, I've played guard before once, literally one snap. The center is on my right. The 3-tech is on my outside shoulder. So the 3-tech is above the shoulder of the guard towards the tackle. The 2-eye, opposite side. So the 2-eye is above the shoulder of the guard, but towards the center. And the 3-tech is above the shoulder of the guard, but towards the offensive tackle. So that's just what that means. That's your pass rushing thought of type. That's not your nose tackle. Like, that's not your Desmond Watson. Your Desmond Watson isn't shooting gaps. He's just filling them. That's all he's doing. But again, hear it from Gervon Dexter himself.
You mean as far as position on the line of scrimmage? I think I do pretty good at the 3-tech, or I do well at the G, the 2-eye as well. So
Gervon Dexter here, like he compared himself to Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones, and not even that he compared himself to Chris Jones. He said, like, hey, I've been told so often that I remind people of Chris Jones. They showed it at the combine. Like, NFL teams have said it to me. We're similar sizes. And I'm going to throw up this graphic because I do want you to see it. It's ras.football. That's the website. Math Bomb, Kentley Platt right here has it. And all these numbers might mean just absolute nothing to you, but just know the highest you can get on any of these scales is a 10. Okay? The highest you can get on any of these scales is a 10. And Gervon Dexter is a 9.69. It's a 96.9 percentile amongst all defensive tackles to ever work out at the combine. So he is a physical freak, and there's a lot of green for Gervon Dexter's name. There's a red that's a very bad red with the bench, but there's a lot of green there for Gervon Dexter. So yeah, he's pretty much a complete physical freak. But here he talks about the comparison to Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones.
Compared to Chris Jones a lot. So even really, I mean, like, I think one team, they kind of literally compare everything. Like, we're equivalent to height, wingspan, game tape is very similar. So even at the combine, I think they compared us, like, our 40s were similar, our shuttles and hand size is similar. So really, pretty much everything.
Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back probably Monday. I don't think we're going to have a bonus show this week, but I wouldn't rule it out. Okay? I'll say that. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, and NFL 33. And I will see you all when I see you.